Wes Craven was one of the founding fathers of the modern horror film. His contributions to the genre were many, including redefining the slasher film with A Nightmare on Elm Street and launching a decades-long franchise. Today, we'll rank all of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. At a time when the slasher film was dying, flooded with the excess of thoughtless Halloween rip-offs and 1980s bloodbaths, Wes Craven reinvigorated the genre by introducing an element of the supernatural and transporting the action to the world of dreams, where anything goes. With Freddy Krueger and the legacy of Elm Street, Craven created an iconic mythology that crept into the nightmares of generations and stood the test of time well. Most movies do.
I had to keep you awake long enough, so when you finally slept, you'd never wake up again.
At number 9, A Nightmare on Elm Street, the 2010 remake. The good news is that a rewatch reveals that the Nightmare on Elm Street remake isn't as horrible as I remembered. The bad news is it's still awful. The film has a lot going for it, with a great cast led by Rooney Mara, Kyle Gallner, Connie Britton, and Jackie Earle Haley as Freddy, who all do their best to elevate the material. Haley turns out a hell of a performance, and he's damn unnerving in the role, but the problem is that Freddy Krueger doesn't feel anything like Freddy Krueger, and that's emblematic of the film's more significant issue. Director Samuel Bayer set out to make a film for today's youth, which meant a grittier look, a darker tone, and a lot of unnecessary scientific explanation. Unfortunately, none of that is enjoyable. The emphasis on realism and intensity turns the Elm Street remake into a dour experience that's no fun.
How sweet, fresh meat.
At number 8, A Nightmare on Elm Street 5, the Dream Child from 1989. If the series began as an F-16 fighting Falcon blasting into space, the Dream Child shrunk it into a bottle rocket fizzling in the grass. Now pregnant Alice, played by Lisa Wilcox, and Dan, played by Danny Hassel, survivors from the fourth film, believe they're finally safe. But when Freddy plagues the dreams of Alice's unborn son, fireballs soar from hell with his reincarnation into the real world. Gore is used for shock value, including a scene where Freddy forces a dieting model, Erica Anderson, to eat her organs while seated at a dinner party, plus a dream sequence where Freddy's mother gives birth to him in the Weston Hills Psychiatric Hospital. Baby Freddy rips his way out, shrieking so loud the windows shatter. Nightmare 5 is a dreary, tongue-in-cheek ode to bad taste, and only partially because of its rushed production after the Dream Master's unexpected success.
You are all my children now.
At number 7, A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge. There was a time when most fans would have easily ranked A Nightmare on Elm Street 2 as the worst of the Englund films. As the plot is full of holes, it has no real connection to any of the other films, and there are several scenes which are so inexplicable that they defy any rational explanation. However, in more recent years, Freddy's Revenge has been reevaluated by many, thanks to Freddy still being scary and not funny, the unique score by Christopher Young, and fun scenes like Freddy massacring a group of teens at a pool party.
Every town has an Elm Street.
At number 6, Freddys Dead, the final nightmare from 1991. Freddys Dead. What a mindless cluster mess of a film. And yet, it's so weird and oddball that it's still enjoyable. That's a somewhat unpopular opinion. You'll find Freddys Dead at the bottom of most people's rankings, and I can respect that. Freddy dons a witch's cap and flies around on a broom at one point, so yeah, I get it. But there's something about its wretched ridiculousness that I enjoy. It's the kind of horror film you could watch on hallucinogens and still have a great time, which is to say it's an absolute failure as a scary movie. But there's still an element of fun about it. Freddys Dead marks the nadir of Freddy's transformation from a terrifying villain to a cartoonish slapstick enthusiast. It features goofball kills, including when Freddy lays a bed of nails out underneath a falling victim, relishing in the moment like some two-bit comedian waiting for a punchline that never gets the laugh. It has unnecessary celebrity cameos, including an off-brand appearance from Roseanne Barr and Tom Arnold. It has an entirely left-field story that finds youth counselor Maggie Burrows, played by Lisa Zane, discovering that she's Freddy's long-lost daughter. Yeah, whatever. And yet, maybe I have too big a soft spot for the utterly absurd.
It's time to put this bad dog to sleep. For good!
At number 5, Freddy vs. Jason from 2003. By all conventional standards, Freddy vs. Jason is far from a good movie. The human characters are mostly one-dimensional kill fodder, and several plot turns don't make much sense, such as Jason being terrified of water suddenly. As a movie made solely for hardcore fans of A Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th, though, it's a winner, with lots of gory kills, some incredible nightmare sequences, a pissed-off demon Freddy form that looks terrific, some nudity sprinkled in, and a long, brutal final fight between the two iconic slashers that is more than worth the price of admission.
Now no one sleeps. Ah!
At number 4, A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master from 1988. A Nightmare on Elm Street 4 is a bit odd, as it marks the point when Freddy starts to get too comedic for his own good. At the same time, it's a colorful, well-shot film that introduces a great new heroine in Alice, played by Lisa Wilcox. The brief return of the surviving Dream Warriors is also welcome, even minus Patricia Arquette. The Dream Master also features some entertaining, creative kill scenes and nightmare sequences, including one where Freddy dresses up like a doctor, one where Alice gets sucked into a black and white movie, and one where Alice and Dan get trapped in a time loop.
Dylan, what's the matter?
Julie, behind you.
At number 3, Wes Craven's New Nightmare from 1994. This standalone meta-narrative, separate from the Nightmare timeline, centers on a demonic force that uses the Freddy Krueger character as his passage to the real world to hunt down the cast and crew of the Elm Street franchise. Those most influential to the franchise step in front of the camera as themselves: Langenkamp, Craven, New Line Cinema founder Robert Shea, John Saxon, and Englund as both himself and the new entity personifying the spirit of the character he'd portrayed for all those years. Producer Marianne Maddalena also plays herself in the film. Wes loved female heroines. Nancy is pretty feminist, turning her back on Freddy and taking things into her own hands. Wes was an intellect, a true auteur. No detail was too small for him. Craven's screenplay pulls on the right threads, weaving between the real world of the cast and the foundational elements of the franchise.
This is it, Jennifer. Your big break in TV. Welcome to prime time.
At number 2, A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors from 1987. The only reason Dream Warriors ranks second is because there can only be one first place. Next to the original, it's the most perfect A Nightmare on Elm Street ever got. Dream Warriors is faithful to the logic of the universe established in the first film, but expands the mythology and ups the action in the way that only the best sequels do. By introducing lucid dreaming as a combat technique, Dream Warriors gave the kids a means to fight back against Freddy, making it so much more fun than the hopeless execution parade slasher films tend to be. It also gave us two fantastic final girls for the price of one, introducing Kristen, Patricia Arquette, who sadly did not reprise her role in the sequel, and bringing back Nancy Langenkamp, in a way that both made perfect sense and gave her arc a proper resolution lacking in the first film's studio-mandated, tacked-on ending. Craven did not like the stinger that painted Freddy as the winner, but the studio wanted to leave it open to a sequel. Most importantly, Dream Warriors is the movie where Freddy became Freddy as we know him now, the quippy, sadistic monster that's always slightly more entertaining than terrifying. They don't get better than Dream Warriors in terms of horror sequels.
Please, God.
This is God.
And the number 1 movie on our list, of course, is the original from 1984. On November 16, 1984, A Nightmare on Elm Street shot chills down the spines of moviegoers worldwide, reinventing the supernatural slasher horror genre. It also launched the careers of much of its cast: Heather Langenkamp as Nancy, Johnny Depp in his film debut as Glenn, John Saxon as Lieutenant Don, Amanda Weiss as Tina, Nick Corey as the rebellious Rod Lane, and Englund as an iconic boogeyman jumping out of the shadows, stretching his elongated arms in an alleyway. Craven burned unforgettable images into our minds. The three girls skipping rope singing the nursery rhyme, Freddy's finger blades rising from the bathtub water, Tina's violent death on the bedroom ceiling, Glenn sucked into a hole in the bed where blood sprays out like a fountain, and so many more. It cuts deep, tapping into our subconscious fears, and clawing long marks that will last forever. That was our show for today. What did you think? Which Nightmare on Elm Street was your favorite? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section, and, as always, I'd be honored if you subscribe to my channel, ring the bell to stay informed, and check out my Carl Vincent Vampire Hunter franchise, also in the comments. Until next time, this is Axel and for Kevin Given saying live long and prosper, may the force be with you and keep reaching for the stars.